Hey guys, Itonia here. Today I'm going to talk about the Caldari Navy Hookbill in Lowsec using a dual web setup. The main strength of the Hookbill is the fact that it has 5 mid slots, giving it superior control options. With the dual web setup, you not only have a speed advantage against most ships, but can apply Rage Rocket DPS fully to the vast majority of unlinked frigates in the game. Naturally, any close range ships which can't project a scram range are going to be easy kills. With the Tech II Scrambler and dual webs, you can usually run from any fight that doesn't go your way either, assuming that you're at the edge of scram range, since you have superior speed and most other ships downgrade to a named Scrambler to save CPU. This fit is quite tight and does require missile rigging to level 5. You can of course swap the Tech II Warp Scrambler out for a Faint Warp Scrambler, or the Caldari Navy Shield Extender to a Republic Fleet Shield Extender, also with a Scram downgrade if you're having difficulties fitting it with your skills. Let's look at some of the matchups. The Caldari Navy Hookbill is quite well rounded and it doesn't really have any bad matchups in particular. The Imperial Navy Slicer is most likely going to be a Disrupt Kiter. If you see a Slicer, make sure you position yourself on the Factional Warfare Beacon at 0 kilometers. I would highly recommend going into a Plex with a Slicer already set up. Have everything preheated when he lands, and you can often catch them, since you do have dual overheated webs. If a Slicer does escape your scram range, you're going to be in trouble. Reload to Javelin Scourge Rockets and heat AB away to a Celestial, and you can sometimes force them off, or he'll break the Disruptor trying to avoid your missiles. The Crucifier Navy issue isn't too much of a threat to you because you do have dual webs, and weapon disruptors are weak when they do not have range control. I'd recommend you get on the beacon at 0 kilometers despite it being a laser ship. If it has a missile disruptor, stay at 0 kilometers the whole time so he cannot range control you, and orbit him to throw off his tracking if it has beams. If this fight is going poorly for you with the missile disruptor, remember you can always run because you have range control. You can consider swapping to Caldari Navy Scourge missiles if he is tracking disrupting your missiles. If it is dual web beams, you shouldn't have a problem with it normally because you just have superior stats to it. Against a rival Caldari Navy Hookbill, you always want to be the guy that's moving away from the other Hookbill, because if you're chilling at scram range and he's approaching you and you're moving away from him, his missiles will expire before yours hit. So this is very similar to other missile versus missile mirrors. Against the Griffin Navy issue, you always want to fight at 10 kilometers or further and double click away. The Griffin Navy issue has short range even on race shields with double range rigs, so he'll be in deep fall off. The ECM has a 20-second cooldown, and many ECM pilots will just blow the cooldown out of range, and then you can just clean them up easily. The Federation Navy Comet, the Comet, if it has blasters, is just a free kill to you. It doesn't have range control on you. You're just going to keep him at 8 kilometers the entire fight and win. The very popular Rail Comet fit has very similar effective hit points and DPS stats to you. So heating your AB and orbiting tightly can be a good way to throw off some of the Rail Comet DPS. If you can just mitigate 10% of his DPS, then you're going to win, which I think is very likely to happen. Against the Maulus Navy issue, this ship is pretty weak in my opinion. It's probably the weakest of the 4 Navy E-War frigates. Just get on the beacon at 0 and just kill it. It's just a slightly stronger Tristan. If it does have blasters, you can just move away from it because it's slow as balls. It has like one of the slowest base speeds in the game. Just double click away from it, dual webs, and instead if it does happen to have blasters. And any kiting Maulus Navy issue cannot deal with you anyway because you have more effective hit points and DPS than it. Against the Republic Fleet Firetail, this ship is very weak to you, to be honest. Autocannon fits, generally not going to have a second web. You're going to be able to control them. They're going to have to use Barrage or EMP on you in very deep fall-off. So, it's just default win for you if it has autocannons most of the time. Artillery Firetails with the popular dual web fit do less DPS than you, and they have less effective hit points than you, so they're not a difficult fight for you. Against the Vigil Fleet issue, I'd get on the beacon at 0 kilometers initially. You should be able to outbrawl this at 0 kilometers. Most Vigil Fleet issues in Lowsec use weird kiting fits, trying to play on the 15 kilometer web with missile range rigs. If it is more of a brawling style fit, you can just retreat back to 9 kilometers. You should have range control with your dual webs. If he's using rage missiles against you, they will expire before they hit you, so if you just control him at 9 kilometers, you shouldn't have a problem. If he's forced to use Navy faction against you, then you should be able to win this fight no problem, because the Visual Fleet issue is also not going to be able to shoot explosive at you. He's going to have to use an off-spec ammo. So generally this fight isn't very difficult for you either. I hope this helps you get some shiny kill marks on the wonderful Caldari Navy Hookbill. Check out my other videos, and see you again next time.